He's calling me. He's calling me. He's calling me. He's calling me. Every day of my life. He's calling me. He's calling me. He's calling me. Don't you know he's calling? Calling me from the calling. He's calling me. He's calling me. Every day of my life. He's calling me. He's calling me. He's calling me. Don't you know he's calling? Calling me from the calling. Oh, I Jesus calling me. Well, God called Moses. He's calling me. On the mountain top. He's there, his love in Moses' heart. He walked down to the river. Peter was sitting by the sea. Said, I need you, Simon. Come on and follow me. Don't you know he's calling? Calling. Oh, he's calling me. He's calling me. Every day of my life. He's calling me. Don't you know he's calling? Calling. Oh, when God called Moses on the mountain top, he's calling me. He's there in love. He's calling me. In Moses' heart. He's calling me. He walked down to the river. He's calling me. Peter was sitting by the sea. He's calling me. Said, I need you, Simon. Come on and follow me. He's calling me. Don't you know he's calling? Calling. He called my name. I didn't want to go. 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 All at once. All at once. All at once. All at once. My feet got light. 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 My soul got happy. Begin to feel alright. Begin to feel alright. Begin to feel alright. Feel alright. Feel alright. Feel alright. Feel alright. 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 Jesus. I hear Jesus. And he calling. Woo! 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 Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord. Yes, sir. Brother Jameson said he's been running for Jesus for a mighty long time. But every day of my life, he keeps on. He calling me. Woo! Woo! I heard a voice. I heard a voice. Yes, sir. I heard. And it was my Jesus. And he was calling me. But the song said, Mr. Ed, I didn't want to go. I didn't want to go. But the more I tried to resist, my feet got light. And when my feet got light, my soul got, hey, I got to go. Because he calling me. That's why, excuse me, wife, excuse me, mama, excuse me, brother, excuse me, deacon, boy. I got to go because he calling me. Woo! I'm thanking all of them for him. But you can't go if you don't know his voice. Woo! Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Jesus. We give honor to God the Father, Jesus Christ, our personal Lord and Savior. Woo. Thank God for my wife being with us today. All of our deacons, our musicians, our secretaries, trustees, visitors, and friends. Man. Thank you, Lord. Thank you. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Jesus. All right. Thank you, Lord. Thank you. We're still dealing with the book of Daniel. Daniel chapter 3. Begin at verse 19 for those that have a Bible. And we're still dealing with stand for God. Because we live in times now. I forgot, I know I seen Evangelist Dangerous come in. Good to see you here today. We're living in times today that are so trying. We're living in times that we all need to examine ourselves. Examine our walk with Christ. And we always had a saying at my home church, if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. And we're living in a time where we need to examine ourselves and examine our walk with Christ. We're living in a time where church really needs to take a stand. Yet everywhere you look, you see that standing for God is not fashionable, and standing for God and living for God is not popular. Yes, sir. Today, truth is being challenged. True leadership is being challenged, and everybody seems to want to go along to get along. Not realizing that that's not God's word, and that's not God's will. That's it. It's time to put on the whole armor of God, and having done all, to stand Therefore, we need to stand. We dealt with Daniel chapters 3 for a while. We've even dealt with chapters 1 through 6. And we've been dealing with this fiery furnace. And we understood that Nebuchadnezzar had a great image that he built. And if I am mistaken, I think it was 90 foot tall. So in other words, it was such a huge image that you didn't have to be close by to see it. And he made this image, and when he played music, he expected everybody to bow down. But we understood that there was 3 Hebrew boys that didn't bow down. And when they didn't bow down, verses 17 through 13 says the Chaldeans went and told the king that they didn't bow down. So the king called them to himself and asked them, is this true? They said, yes, it's true. But out of all respect, we're not going to disrespect you, but at the same time, we're not going to bow down to you and your gods. So he told them, do what you got to do, because we have a God that we know is able to deliver us. And if he don't deliver us, we still know that he's able. So out of all due respect, do what you got to do. We're going to do what we know to do, but we still going to trust the God that we serve. So that brings us up to verse 19, and it said, then was Nebuchadnezzar, now he's full of fury. And the form of his visits was changed against them. He done changed his mind in the way he saw them, because they refused to bow down. Therefore he asked and commanded that they should heat the furnace 7 times more than it was wont to be heated. He wanted it hotter than it ever been, because that's how mad he is.
Yes, sir.
And he commanded the most mighty men that were in his army, biggest, strongest thing he got, bind Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, cast them into the burning fiery furnace. Then these men were bound in their coats, their hosens, their hats, and their other garments, and were cast into the midst of the burning fiery furnace. Therefore, because the king's commandment was urgent, and the furnace exceedingly hot, the flames of the fire slew those that took up Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego.
Yes, sir.
And these 3 men, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, fell down, bound into the midst of the burning furnace. Then Nebuchadnezzar, the king, was astonished, and rose up in haste, and spoke and said unto his counselors, did not we cast 3 men bound into the midst of the fires? They answered and said unto him, King, true, O king. He answered and said, lo, I see 4 men loose, walking in the midst of the fire, and they have no hurt. And the form of the 4th is like the Son of God.
Yes, Lord.
You may be seated. Listen, he said the 4th looks like the Son of God. But just to pick some meat off the bone, when we go back to realize how the king realized that they didn't bow down, when you look at verses 7 through 13, it said the Chaldeans went and told the king that they didn't bow down. Listen, the Chaldeans went and told the king that they didn't bow down. But the question is, if everybody is worshiping, how do they know who's not worshiping? Have you ever thought about that? Listen, if the king decrees when the music plays, everybody bows down and worships. If everybody is bowing down worshiping, how do they know who's not worshiping?
Watch out.
Hello? I said, how do they know? Don't you know every time you come to worship service, there's always a devil that's looking instead of participating? Look at it. If everybody's worshiping, how do you know I'm not worshiping? If we have prayer service, how do you know who's not praying? How do you know who's not waving their hand? Because when you get up in real worship, you don't worry about nobody. Listen, I'm up here crying, snot coming out my nose. I'm not concerned about who's looking at me, and I can't tell you who was praising when we had our little praise moment, because I was worshiping God, not you. So how can you go to the king and watch this? He know how many it was. It was 3 of them that wasn't worshiping. Well, evidently you wasn't either for you to know what I'm not doing. See, the Chaldeans were no different than the men that brought the woman that was caught in adultery. If everybody's supposed to be in that service, how you end up at the same house wherever going on there? And how was you able to look in the house to know what they were doing for them to be caught? Is it that you had a key? Do you know what woman is always unlocked? But here it is, everybody's worshiping, but the Chaldeans go to the king and say 3 of them ain't worshiping. So evidently you were looking instead of worshiping yourself. Because sometimes people get up out the bed to come to find fault. Y'all done got quiet. Y'all done got quiet. But it says the 3 Hebrew boys didn't bow. And verse 12 tells you one of the main reasons why. Listen, there are certain Jews whom thou hast set over the affairs of the providence of Babylon. Now you see what it was all about. Just couldn't say I saw 3 guys, I think they might have been Jews, that wasn't bowing. No, you got to stick your finger in the wound. Not only are they not bowing, it's the 3 you call yourself done promoted to some position. See, y'all missing it. See, it wasn't so bad that they wasn't worshiping. It's the fact they wasn't participating and they been elevated. They got a title. So they offended by 2 things. Number 1 is the main reason, but you use worship as an excuse. Yes, sir. You know how we do? When you don't like somebody, you find a reason. Y'all missing it. You don't care nothing for them, no way. But now you got a reason to do what you do. And that's what they did. So that's why they had to add that in the sentence like they were going to hurt the king and say he done made the wrong choices. But you done picked 3 people and promoted them and they won't even bow down and worship. And then verse 13 help you understand, folk get fiery hot and furious when you don't bow. People hate when other people stand for the Lord. Amen. Because listen, if the king loved them so much to promote them, why is his visits changing towards them? Because I won't do what you think I ought to do, so now I ain't as good as you say I was when you call me. Because that's what we do. People are always good as long as they tell you yeah. But as soon as they say no, your visits change towards them. See, now you don't see me the same way. But when I was agreeing with you, I was a good pastor. Oh, yes, sir. Yes. As long as I was saying yeah and agreeing with you, I was a good man. But as soon as you start standing for God, I don't know about that, dog. Yes, sir. Think we ought to vote him out? Look at us. Do what you got to do. But I'm still going to stand. And that's what happens so many times in life. We force people to compromise because you don't want to change. And when you don't want to change, you get mad because you want people to agree with you. And because they wouldn't agree and they wouldn't go along to get along, now the king attitude done change toward them. And now it really done change because I already know you didn't bow because the king stands and look over the crowd to see who's honoring him. So he didn't need the Chaldeans coming to tell him in the first place. So by them coming, there was already the second insult, and then number 3 is true. So now I call you unto myself and you don't even deny it. Tell me to my face in front of all my government council that you ain't gonna do it. So now he went from a 7 to a 14. Turn it up. No, keep turning. So he turns this furnace up 7 times harder. But watch this. He turns it up 7 times harder, finds the biggest, strongest men he has to bind them up and put them in the fire. The fire is so hot that it kills the men that he's trying to use to hurt the 3 Hebrew boys. I'm tempted to say this. Be careful how you set traps and try to hurt folk that living for the Lord.
Yes, sir.
Woo!
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I said, be careful how you set traps on people who are really living for the Lord.
Yes, sir.
Because it was trying to hurt the 3 Hebrew boys and they got killed trying to hurt them.
Yes, sir.
You got killed trying to kill me.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
I'm standing for God. You standing for Nebuchadnezzar, an idol who opposes God and not even saved. And you're going to try to kill me. and they end up dying trying to be low down.
Line it up, preacher.
All right.
How many of us are dying trying to be low down?
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Ain't one thing, it's another. Because you're always on the beat.
Yes, sir.
That's why.
Yes, sir.
You ain't gonna never get ahead because you're always on the beat.
Yeah.
And every time you turn around, you getting burnt.
Uh-huh.
Trying to burn somebody else.
Yeah. Yes, sir. Yes,
You ever had a lighter and try to burn somebody with the lighter? The flame always keep coming back, hitting your thumb. They put me in the fire, and you done died. Trying to be low down. So when you stand for God, people that try to hurt you a lot of times get hurt.
Yes.
People that try to kill you end up getting killed.
Yeah.
Verse 23 said once they bound them and put them in the furnace, it said they fell down in the midst of the furnace.
Yes.
Why did they fall down and the Bible not say they were threw down? Because God is trying to show us, even in your worst situation, he still wants you to humble yourself.
Yes, sir.
Y'all missed it.
Yes.
They fell down in the midst of the fire. The man bound them and put them in the fire, but they fell down.
Yes, sir.
Because even in your worst situation, God still says, I need you to be humble.
Yes, sir.
Because you know sometimes when we get in certain situations, because we Christians and we saved and we preachers and we deacons and we pay our tithes and we don't miss service for no silly reason, we don't want to go through nothing.
Yeah.
You know how we do?
Yes, sir.
And when we go through things and it's real hard and it don't seem like it's going to ever end, and the more I pray, the worse it get, we sometimes get an attitude with God, don't we, Mr. Job? Yes, we do.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, we do. And we feel like we shouldn't be in this situation. We have a right not for nothing bad to happen to us. Because we sacrifice so much for the sake of the Lord. And what makes it so bad, a lot of times you could have done this stuff and got away with it and didn't do it. And God still let something bad happen to you. But in the midst of this situation, they realize the best thing we can do is humble ourselves.
Yes, sir.
Humble yourself.
That's it.
And when you start to stand for God, you can't stay down too long.
Amen.
I said, when you stand for God, you can't stay down too long. I say you can't stay down too long. And I'm not talking about physically down, because they could have laid on the floor for the rest of their life. What I mean by you can't stay down for long, meaning that you can't be depressed all your life. And no matter how bad the situation is, you can't let it be so depressing that it consumes you. In other words, you got to find strength enough to go. It ain't changed, but I'm going on. I'm going on now. And I have to do that sometimes with my kids because I get tired of the same old stuff over and over again. And once we get to a certain point and you get to a certain age, it ain't over. I'm just going on.
See, brother.
It hurt me, but you were wrong, but you didn't apologize, but I'm going on. Because I can't let this keep me down. And if I let it keep me down, I can't continue with God because I'm stuck on you.
That's it.
If I can't do this. So they humbled themselves, but they didn't stay there long. Because standing for God means you cannot stay there too long. And then when you look at verse 24, you see it blows people's minds when they see you stand in situations that the average human shouldn't be able to handle. I said they lose their mind. It said Nebuchadnezzar, the king, was astonished and rose up in haste. He jumped up out of his chair. What the what? Y'all come here. Look at him. Didn't we put 3 of them in there? Yeah. But listen, this is what's amazing. He jumped up in haste and run to the window, but he's not concerned about the fact that they're not burning. Y'all missed it. Listen, he jumped up in haste. You throw him in the fire for them to die. You jump up in haste and say, didn't we put 3 in there? I see 4. Wouldn't you be concerned with the fact that they ain't burning up? Yes, well, why is that not on his mind if that was his target? Y'all missing it. If the target was to kill them, he should have jumped up and said, they ain't burning up.
Yeah.
He jumped up and said, it's 4 in there instead of 3.
Yeah.
See, this stuff don't even make sense. But it shows you how crazy people be sometimes when you're trying to hurt other folks. You ain't even in your right mind. You can't even focus on why you say you was upset.
Line it up, preacher.
All right. All right.
I supposed to be getting burned because I won't bow down. You put me in the fire, you concerned about how many it is instead of worried about it ain't hurting me.
All right.
See, when you stand for God, you'll make people literally lose their mind.
Yes, sir.
Can't even focus on the topic.
All right.
He's worried about counting instead of worried about your fire ain't working.
All right. Yes. Yes.
Look at it.
I said he's worried about counting when his fire is not working.
Yes, sir.
So here he is jumping up saying, didn't we put 3 in there? But I see 4. And then he said, 4 men loose, comma, walking around in the midst of the fire. They have no hurt, and the form of the 4th is like the Son of God.
Line up. Line up. Look at
But his
God.
first concern, now you see how God works. Even in the midst of him being low down, he even showed the king what was important.
Yeah.
You put me in the fire to kill me. But when you come to the wonder, you were concerned about how many people were in there versus the fact that the fire's not working. In other words, you forgot all about your little ability and your little scheme. And you didn't even realize that it wasn't working because I got your attention by having an extra person in the situation.
Yes, sir.
So even God can make a sinner man turn their attention to him instead of the issue.
Yes.
Now, mister,
It's a
I said
preacher.
God can even make a sinner turn to him instead of focusing on the issue.
Yes. Yes.
Because he was letting the king know you may carry the title as king, but you really ain't the king. You might have thought you was in control, but you're really not in control.
Let it be known, preacher.
Because if you was in control, you were the one saying turn it up 7 times harder. So if I turn my fire up 7 times harder and my fire ain't working, I'm gonna be focused on my fire.
Yeah.
But you focus on how many people is in there.
All right.
That ain't making no sense.
Yes.
Because God knew how to get his attention. He done forgot all about the fact that his fire ain't working. So I said, man, I know good and well I put 3 people in there.
My Lord.
Well, how many you see? Go, how many you see? Go ahead, how many you see? Now everybody worried about how many instead of the fact that it's not working. Then he said on top of all that, they were loosed, walking in the midst of the fire.
My Lord. My Lord.
Remember last week I said a lot of times we complain about God when he allows us to go through bad situations. A lot of times it's the bad situation that looses you.
Look at God work now.
That's what loose you. And a lot of times it's not that God couldn't have done it another way.
Yeah.
Sometimes he had to let it happen that way
Yes,
because
sir.
if he had just spoken in your spirit, you would have never done it. Seriously.
That's right.
Yeah, you never would have done it. You never would have done it. God can tell you to leave and you'll stay. But you'll stay knowing that he told you to leave, but you won't leave. But then he'll allow something to happen that you didn't have no choice. You went. You missed it. Listen,
Yeah.
God said go,
Yeah.
and you stayed. He allowed something bad to happen and you went.
Yeah. Look at it work.
Yeah. Now you see it? Yeah. Because that's what he's saying is, that's what happens. So sometimes he has to allow this, but it loosed them. It loosed them physically because they were already loose mentally and spiritually. Remember them telling them, put us in there, do what you got to do. But they were just bound physically. And now once they get loose physically, it's going to show their spiritual mindset to unbelievers who's on the outside looking in.
All right. Yes, sir.
Now watch how God shows patience. They ain't bucking and jumping. They ain't screaming. They ain't hollering. He just said they was walking on. Just walking around. That's all. They just walking around. But this is abnormal. I'm in a fiery furnace that's turned up 7 times harder. You're loosed and you walking around. But look at God shows his power. The fire is hot enough to burn the ropes and the chains, but it ain't hot enough to burn their hair. You know hair should have burned before ropes.
Yes, sir. Well, yes, sir.
I missed it. It didn't hurt their hair. didn't hurt their coat, didn't hurt their hat, but it burned the ropes off, and they're there walking around, and it ain't harming their body. But it turned up 7 times harder.
All right.
Look at God's word.
Now do you see the book of Psalms? Yea, though I walk through a valley of a
Shadow.
It's just a shadow. It looks real. And it even feel real because it burned the ropes off. But it was just a shadow. So yea, do I walk through the valley of the shadow? Yeah, it look real. Because what God is saying, sometimes I let my people go through things that is so real that it won't be the fire that kill you, it's going to scare you to death. So it's the fear that makes you have a stroke or a heart attack. But you don't actually die from the issue that's going on around you.
Look at it.
Y'all missing it. The coronavirus is real. People are dying from it.
Teach, brother.
But every time you see death, they say, had underlying.
Teach.
Woo! Say it again. Underlying issue. But if we would go back to Genesis and live according to God, we won't have all the underlying.
Teach, brother. Teach. Teach.
All right.
Teach.
Oh, okay. Let me help you then.
Got to go back.
Black folks, fat folks,
Yeah.
high blood pressure,
Yeah.
diabetes, high cholesterol, won't quit eating the chili, won't quit drinking, like to smoke, respiratory problem,
Go back.
Yes, sir.
Need to go
the
back.
blunts, the blow,
Yeah. Yes.
fried everything fried. And he said that goes along. That's why black people are dying faster than anybody else, because we got so much under the table.
Teach, brother.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. And that's what they were saying at the doctor office. All while I was in there, they couldn't even treat me for talking about exercising and lifting weights and being in shape and blah, blah, blah. You're lucky, blah, blah, blah. Because what they were trying to put in my head was, you're going to be all right as long as you keep on being active. So they saying that's one of the secrets is water, exercise, vitamins, proper diet. Because it keeps your immune system hard enough and strong enough that it can fight. But we tear ourselves down all through the week and on the weekend. Then when something comes upon us, we ain't got nothing to fight with. You don't like walking. You don't want to go to the gym. You don't drink water. We got an excuse for everything.
Yes, sir.
Look at us.
But here it is, the children of the 3 Hebrew boys are walking in it.
Yes, sir.
Walking in it.
Yes.
They exercise.
Walking in it. In other words, God can make you walk on things that other people drown in.
Teach, brother. Teach.
Yes.
Am I lying? Did Peter walk on water? And a lot of times water can be seen as trouble. But as long as he kept his eyes on the... But when he heard the wind, because the voices of them 11 that were too scared to get out the boat. Hey, Peter, you crazy. You gonna drown. You better come back here. And he took his mind off of Christ, and then he began to.
Yes, sir. Yes.
So he said that when we stand for God, we ought to be able to walk in situations that other people lose their mind.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm telling some white guy one day at work, they complain about this, and the government. I said, dude, listen. Every bad thing that has happened in this government in the last 15 to 20 years, my life has not changed. It ain't affected me.
Because you stand with
I'm
God.
used to saving money. I'm used to pinching pennies. I've been taking my lunch to work. I've been bringing leftovers. I've been cooking at home. I mean, it ain't changed, bro.
Stay with God, brother.
I ain't never had a problem sitting on a shade tree eating a peanut butter sandwich. Pastor or no pastor.
Yes.
Infinity truck or no infinity truck, I still can eat peanut butter.
Yes, sir.
I have ate it straight out the jar with crackers on the seat. Hey, it is what it is.
Yes, sir.
I grew up like this. Rag bologna. Okay. Vienna. Okay. Potty meat. Okay. Sardine. Okay. Oil sausage, give me 2. If I got to, that push come to shove. But it didn't affect me, what I'm saying. Yeah, you never ate rice and light bread? Okay then.
Yeah.
What's wrong with that?
All right.
Jack mackerel, smothered potatoes, side of jelly, 2 biscuits. All right then. So it didn't, listen, and they have no hurt
My Lord.
in the midst of the fire.
My Lord.
Walking around with no hurt in spite of what was going on around them.
Yeah.
I ain't had no hurt.
Be obedient.
Walking.
Yes, sir.
But then look at the end. Nebuchadnezzar says, and the fourth one had the form is like the Son of God.
Yes, sir.
What do you mean by the form? The Bible says no man has ever seen God. So what do you mean by the form? And then watch this. The Son of Man has not even came to earth yet. Jesus hasn't been born yet. He ain't came through Mary, this Old Testament.
Yes, yes.
So what do you mean? You ain't saved, you ain't seen God or Jesus, and Jesus ain't came, so how can you say when you looked in there, you see four, and the fourth one look like the form of the Son of God?
Yeah.
I did. You ain't even saved. Jesus ain't came, and this is Old Testament. So what is he saying? He said he's the form is like the Son of God. What you mean? The shape? You never seen God. I know y'all got y'all little pictures at home, but you ain't seen God.
Yeah.
Teach today, brother.
But listen, when you go through something that's so rough that only God can deliver you, and he brings you out, you see Jesus.
You see?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Now listen,
Yes, sir.
he said, we put three in there, but I see four. And the fourth one look like a what? The form. Don't you know the form is the shape or a pattern?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So what God is saying, you see Jesus anytime you see a miracle.
All right. Yes, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And if we throw three people in a fire that's turned up 7 times hotter, they loose and walk around, not even their hair seeing, their clothes ain't melting to their body, that's a miracle.
Yes, sir. Yes, it is.
But the king that's low down sees Jesus in the miracle.
All right.
But he ain't saved.
Yeah.
So what is the church problem? If y'all say y'all saved and you believe in God and you serve Jesus Christ, why is it that you can't see Jesus but Nebuchadnezzar can see him? And Nebuchadnezzar was so low down that when you research it, they better be glad he threw them in the fire.
Teach, brother.
Because it said Nebuchadnezzar sometime when he got mad, he called in 2 chariots. Tied a rope around this arm and tied it to this chariot. Tied a rope around this arm and tied it to that chariot.
Yes, sir.
And he said, when I say go, y'all go.
Yes, sir.
And they would run them chariots east and run it west. And he would literally snatch a man's body in half. That's how mean and low down Nebuchadnezzar was. But here it is, 3 Hebrew boys gonna stand up to a man this mean and make him bow down.
Yes, sir. Look at it.
Y'all missed it. He tear people in half with 2 chariots.
Yes, yes, sir. Yeah. Yes.
And you gonna stand up to him? Well, maybe he ain't the big bad wolf. So the question is, what are you afraid of?
Yes,
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 Lord.
yes, sir.
What are you afraid of?
Yes, Lord.
What? What you afraid of? So he's basically saying when you see a miracle, you see Jesus.
Yes, yes, yes.
But then you look at verse 26, it said, then Nebuchadnezzar came near to the mouth of the burning furnace. Now he acting like they did at the lion did. If you throw people in here to die, why are you coming to the door calling their name? Hey, you're doing it again.
All right.
Going to the door, Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego. Now look what he called them. Servants of the Most High. Come forth and come to me. Then Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego came forth of the midst of the fire. Now you see why God said he'll make your enemies your footstool. See, the same person that put them in the fire is, y'all missed it. I said the same person that put them in the fire is escorting them, y'all can say it, out of the fire. Because God will make your enemies your footstool. Same joker that commanded you to be thrown in the fire is the same joker saying, if y'all don't mind, can you come out the fire? And when you come out the fire, come to me.
Yes, sir. All right.
So God has a way of making even the most evil people eat their words.
Yes.
You become a testimony to your community, but when you really stand for God, it causes the even most low-down, evilest people to become humble.
Yes, sir.
And the princess, the governors, the captains, the king, the council being gathered together, saw these men upon whose bodies the fire had what? Had no power. nor was an hair of their head singed, neither was their coat changed, nor they smell of fire that they had passed through. Let me tell y'all something. You can't even walk in caves. I don't care if you go in there and see if they cooking chicken today.
Look at it.
As soon as you walk back and get in your vehicle, guess what everybody's saying there in the car?
Smell like chicken.
What?
Smell like chicken.
Oh, okay. And back in the day when I used to be getting ready to go to Alvin's and Matty B, I used to put my outer clothes and stuff on later. Because back in the day we had the wood heater in the house. And you didn't have all that ventilation, you had a pipe going through the wall. And I didn't want to get to the club and smell like smoke. I used to put my shirt on the back seat, keep it crisp. You know, been to clean them. And you got your cologne, you put the cologne on the back seat too, and you spray all that when you get to where you're going. Because you don't want to smell like smoke. So how is it that they're in the midst of a furnace, but they don't smell like smoke? It got to be somewhere.
Yes, sir.
Because you can bypass the hurt. It's just the fact that they don't even. How you not smell like it? I go in KFC to see if they got some food ready. Come back to the truck, whole interior smell like KFC.
Yes, sir.
You go in Popeye, you smell just like it. You go to a paint shop, you come out smelling like. You been down there with Kiki today. Yeah, sure been down there. And watch this. When you drive them old antique cars, my wife be at work for 12 or 14 hours. I can take that car down the road and stay gone a while and come back. It'd be 8 o'clock at night, and she'll say, "Well, you go in that old car today?" But how is that, Brother Tony? Because the exhaust and combustion in them old cars is different from them new cars. Them new cars, you can get in them to drive and not smell like your vehicle. Now watch this. Go to a car lot and set in a brand new car with 0 miles. And then get out of it and watch what you smell. So how is it that you're in the midst of a fiery furnace and you don't even... It's got to be a... Somewhere? Got to be a God. So they don't even smell like smoke. Then Nebuchadnezzar spoke and said, "Blessed be the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, who has sent his what? Angel." See how this man getting saved through real lifestyle? See, if we would live right, the people around us will change. But it's because of our lifestyle that we robbed the sinner man from getting saved. See, the people that's wondering if God is real, that's our fault. And that's what we fail to realize on Judgment Day. That's what God gonna talk to you about. Because he always talking about woe unto them that cause others to stumble.
Yes, sir.
What you do to the least of them. Meaning that you don't have to say nothing, but it's what you do because people are always watching.
Yeah.
They always watch answer. If we buy a new vehicle, our phone gonna ring all night. And we ain't call nobody. I pull vehicles out washing cars when I wash every vehicle in the driveway. Phone start ringing. You clean them all up, ain't you, Doc? What?
Yeah.
Because people are always watching. And I'm going to help somebody else. And she'll tell you in a minute. I'll tell them in a minute. I can't stand when people walk out of the house any kind of way. Because I know people are always watching.
Yeah.
You know how you see folks at the store like this? I just come out for a pack of cigarettes. You ain't got a bra or nothing. You know better. And then watch this, Brother Buster. Mess around, lock the keys up in the car.
Yeah.
At the gas station at 6:30 like this. With a one-piece on. You're looking at it carnally, but turn it to the spiritual realm.
Yes, sir.
Every time people that are looking for a source of spiritual help, do you look like that in public? Do you?
No.
Because this is what this passage of scripture is showing us, that we're living in some hard, tough times.
Yes, we are.
And people are looking for something to hold on to,
Yes,
but they can't find nothing to hold on to,
Yes,
and they can't find nobody to lead them to something to hold on to.
Yes, sir.
Because everybody wants to go along to get along. Nobody is standing for the Lord anymore. And it's getting harder and harder and harder to find a man to stand. But you see, looking at these verses, He said, blessed be the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, who has sent his angel and delivered his servants, watch this, that trusted in him and have changed the king's what? Changed the king's word.
Yes, sir.
Listen, changed the king's word and yielded their bodies that they might not serve nor worship any God except their God. He said yielded their bodies.
Yes.
Don't Romans say your body should be a living sacrifice, holy and acceptable unto God? And that's your what? Reasonable service? Oh, okay. Therefore, I make a decree that every people, nation, and language which speak anything amiss against God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego shall be cut in pieces, and their houses shall be made a dunghill, because there's no other God that can deliver out of this sort.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
For a man to be this low down that tears people in half, now he's saying from this day forward, we will worship no other God other than the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. And if I even hear somebody saying something against their God, you will be cut in pieces and your house will be burnt down.
Yes, yes, sir.
That's hard now.
Yes, sir.
That's hard. But look at this. All of this is done in one day.
One day.
So why is it taking you 40 years? Why is it taking you 50 years? Why is it taking you 60 years? You can't be half as low down as Nebuchadnezzar. And why is it taking you so long? And him being so evil, he changed in a day.
Yes, sir.
The man changed in a day. So why is it taking you so long? I got quiet again. I said this man was so low down that he tore people in half. And he changes in one day.
Yes, sir. Yes.
But we've been in church all our life, and we still ain't. You fill in the blank.
Still ain't.
So the king said, you'll be cut into pieces, and your house will be burnt down. He meant what he said, and he said, you will serve no other God, because no other God can deliver. He said like that, in that manner. In other words, he ain't saying no other God can't do something, but he's saying no other God can do it like that.
Like that? Yes, sir.
So he ain't denying that you can get some power from some idol God, but it ain't gonna be like that.
Ain't be like that.
Not going in no fire, not be burned. Clothes not sin, they not even smell like smoke. He said, no, we got to serve this God, because can't no other God do it like he do it.
No, sir.
Can't do it like that. So we realize that standing for God, you have to be different. Standing for God, you have to have a made up mind. Standing for God, you got to live with standards. And standing for God, you can never be intimidated. Y'all missed it. Standing for God, you got to be different. To stand for God, you have to have a made-up mind. To stand for God, you have to live with standards. And to stand for God, you can never be intimidated. Being different. 1 Peter 2:9 said we are a royal priesthood, a peculiar people who praise God and trust him and are there to deliver those that are in darkness into the marvelous light. And the only way you can do that is to what? To be different. But that's what a peculiar person is. God created us to be peculiar. In other words, you can stand out in the crowd. You don't blend in and look like everybody else. When people see you and don't know you, they say, it's something about you. Because you peculiar. You have to have a made up mind. Isaiah 26:3 said, he that is kept in perfect peace, mind must be stayed on the Lord and trust in him. You have to live with standards. Romans 12:2. Be not conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. So he said, be not conformed, meaning do what the 3 Hebrew boys done. See, they didn't conform to the world around them. But we so quick to go along to get along, we opposing the scripture of God. But be ye transformed. But then he tells you how to do it. By the renewing of your mind. Now never be intimidated. Philippians 1:28. New Living Translation said, don't be intimidated in any way by your enemy. King James Version said, and nothing be terrified by your adversary. And that's what he's talking about. We should never be intimidated by the adversary. When you know that it's of the devil, don't be intimidated by it. Because you have scriptural reference that shows you if you're standing for God, it's not going to harm you. It may scare you, but if you can be patient and let God do what he do, it will deliver you and loose you from something that's been having you bound.
Yes, he will.
See,
yes, he will.
You can stay on that bound for a long time.
Amen.
Think about your life situation. Think about your church situation. Think about every situation where you've been held back.
Yes. Yes, sir.
Think about it. Put it in your mind.
He'll loose you.
Now think about what it takes for you to be loose.
Mm-hmm.
Now give it to God.
Yes, sir.
That's it, brother. Give it to him.
Yes,
Yeah. And before you know it, you'll be
Loose.
and you'll be.
Walk
Yes.
it.
All right,
But while you're walking around, guess what else? Who's walking with you? There's gonna be an extra person in there with you.
Yes, sir.
So it helps us to understand God never said he won't allow us to go through situations,
That's it.
but he did promise to be with you.
Oh.
Oh, okay. So even when my daddy died, he with me.
Yes, sir.
As my mama died, he with me.
Yes, sir.
And get diagnosed with cancer, he's. Oh, okay.
Yes, sir.
Oh. You lose a child?
Yes, he will.
Pneumonia in your lung?
Mm-hmm.
COVID-19?
Get that with you.
Head-on car wreck?
Right there.
Let me help somebody else. Contemplating suicide?
He right there.
You say he with me?
Right there.
Oh.
What I have to do is acknowledge it.
So is it possible, that's why Jesus said in 1 Corinthians 15:55, O death, where is thy sting?
Yeah.
The sting of death is sin, the strength of sin is law. But thanks be to God, verse 57. Thanks be to God, which gives us victory through our Lord Jesus Christ.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir.
See, Jesus had to stand. And he had to stand for 33 long years. Y'all can't even stand for a day.
My Lord.
Some of us can't stand a week.
All right.
But he stood for 33 and a half years.
Yes, he did.
He went through some things that he shouldn't have to go through.
Yes, sir.
He was allowed himself to be born when he was already living.
Yeah.
And then to be born by a woman that he was older than,
Yeah.
to let her name him, raise him, feed him, and wash his butt,
Yeah.
when he already done all that for her. Y'all missing it.
He.
How in the world, I'm older than my mama. I have her, raise her, bless her, and take care of her, and feed her, and dress her, and then she turn around and do the same for me, but I had her.
That's the way it is, brother.
And I'm older than she is. So now he has to humble himself to come down on earth and go through what we go through so he can understand how we feel when we go through.
Yes, sir.
So now he understands childbirth. He knows what it's like to have a womb and to live in a womb and to be born, to have birth defects. He knows what it feels like to be fed through an umbilical cord.
Yeah.
He knows what it feels like to have somebody pull his leg or pull him by the head, slap him on the butt and cut his cord.
Yes, sir. My Lord.
To have somebody to rock him. Because when you going through, he had to come in the wee hours of the night. And when you got sick, he had somebody to check his temperature and make sure he didn't have a fever and to rub his head sometimes. And now as he's growing up, he's being raised by a couple. We call it a stepdad.
Yeah.
So he understands broken homes. Y'all missing it. Because he had a stepdad. And he was born through scandal because you know what they say. They said she was already pregnant when they got together. So he understands a broken home. He understands scandal. He was born in the hood because they said nothing good came out of Nazareth. I said Fredonia. Downtown, Oklahoma,
Yes.
Tyrone. So he understands all those concepts of what we go through on a daily basis. He had to learn how to work with his hands. He had to learn how to build and frame things. He had to level it up and make sure it was square. He understands. Then he had to learn about farming. Then he had to learn about fishing. Because he had to call some fishermen. He had to call some carpenters. But he had to be able to relate to them where they were. For them to be able to accept him and be led by him. And while he's trying to do all that living, there was another group of people hating on him. Talking about him and watching him. Trying to find fault in him. Even falsely accuse him and even paid people to lie on him. They caused him to be marched from judgment hall to judgment hall. To be beat all night long, all day long, being scandalized and embarrassed in public in front of all these people that have stripped his clothes off. The cat of nine tails had spikes and pieces of bone and metal in it. Every time they hit him and pulled back, they had chunks of bloody flesh coming out. He's bleeding out. He's dehydrated. His tongue is about to be glued to the roof of his mouth. But they won't quit beating him. And they beat him so bad that he was unrecognizable. You don't know if it was a bloody animal or a bloody human. But it said he still said not a mumbling word. We can't take nothing today. If somebody look at us wrong, we got something to say. But here he is, getting flesh snatched out of his back. But he said not a mumbling word. And after you get beat beyond recognition and you done bled all you can bleed, now they want to give you a cross and want you to carry it by yourself. Carry it back through the same crowd of people that laughed at you and elbowed each other. I told y'all he wasn't about nothing. If he's God, why didn't he save himself? Why he let them people beat him like he beat them if he's the Son of God? Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And here he is now, barely making it. But he got to carry his own cross. And he's not carrying it on level ground. He's got to carry it up. He got to carry it up a hill. He got to carry it. And he got to carry it on his own. He didn't want to do it. He didn't even ask to do it. But he had you on his mind. Have you ever had to sacrifice for your kids and you didn't want to do it, but you did it because you had John on your mind? You don't want to work 2 jobs, but you got Nick on your mind. You got your twins on your mind. So you keep on carrying the load. It's hard. It gets tiresome. I want to give up. I shouldn't have to do it, but I got to do it anyway. I got Brother Jameson on my mind. I got Mark on my mind. I got Kendrick on my mind. And you keep on going anyway. And when he gets up the hill, now they want to lay him on that old rugged cross. And the Bible says put nails in his hands, and they put nails in his feet. They dropped him down in the hole, and his body weight was shaking. And to get a breath, he got to try to lift himself up, which is going to cause more pain. But he still said not a mumbling word. Like a sheep headed to the slaughter, he was dumb, not knowing that he was about to die. But he kept on anyway. They hung him high. They stretched him wide. They pierced him in the side. And on that same rugged cross, yes sir, he died. But he didn't stay dead, because they took him off that old rugged cross, laid him in a borrowed grave, and he stayed in that borrowed grave for 3 days. But on that 3rd day morning, he got up. I said he got up. I said he got up. I said he got up. If he got up, you can get up with all power in his hand. Power to walk right, power to live right, power to love right. Because he got up. Because he lived, you can face tomorrow. Doors of the church is open. You may come by letter, candidate of baptism or Christian experience. The doors of the church is open. For we know that what Jesus Christ done on Calvary's cross, he took a stand for us. And now is our time to take a stand for him. He done it because he had you on his mind. Now you ought to do it with him on your mind. The doors of the church is open. You may come by letter, candidate baptism, or Christian experience. The doors of the church is open.